Well, hello. It is now 8 o'clock on the west coast of the United States. It is 0300 GMT. I think, maybe I should actually look at that right now because I'm not actually sure what the time is GMT. I don't usually come on the air at this time, but I have classes at 9 and 10 this evening, and it's kind of a pain. Let's see here. What is the time GMT? It is now 3 a.m. GMT. Okay, 0300 GMT. And 8 o'clock on the western coast of the United States. I've been helping out and trying to be some support for my mom who had hip surgery not long ago. So it's been kind of a rough week in between classes and trying to do that. It's like I haven't even had the energy or the time when it came time to be on the air. And now I have the energy, but not the time. So I'm trying to do my best. And I apologize if you're at all any kind of person who watches with any regularity, because bless you for that. But I don't know. Let's have some fun. I kind of enjoyed doing what I did on Monday night, which was showing AT&T video. I enjoy the hell out of that. Like, I can't even tell you. And other things that I've paid attention. Like, I paid attention to the debate. I was actually teaching classes during the debate, but like in between classes, I could hear some audio, and I finally went back and watched some later. And I gotta say, I really wanted to like Rand Paul. And I know he's not gonna win, but like, I want to like him. As far as Republicans go, he's kind of not scummy. He seems like he's motivated by what is the good thing to be motivated by, which is, libertarian ideals and trying not to be, what I'm trying to say, the federal government not interfering in people's lives. NSA, marijuana, whatever the hell. And in this case, I feel like he flunked because he was specifically asked a question about recreational pot, and he wouldn't even discuss it. Like, he sort of ignored the question. And I was like, wow, that's weak sauce, dude. You can't even say, I mean, even if it's not popular, the person who is, the person I know who's the big Rand Paul supporter was like, well, he's pretty much into legalization, are his stances, but the Republican debate isn't the time to announce that. It's like, hello, reducing, federal interference in people's lives and the true ideals of liberty and freedom, blah, blah, blah. Like, where's any of that? Why is that a bad message for Republican audiences? Well, because Republican audiences want reduced government unless it involves controlling people's lives, being gay, getting gay married, using marijuana, or for that matter, any drug. And some of those candidates were actually saying they're going to send the feds in to bust up they're going to enforce federal laws regarding marijuana, when the ones that were written 50 years ago or more, in places like Colorado and Washington, where the people have voted. The people voted on that. This is not something that the governments there, sort of in a left-wing thing, decided to do. No, this is something that people voted on in an election. And I don't know. I really think republicanism is the party of the stupid, and the party of the backwards, and the party of the caveman. The people who want it to be 1800s all over again, or 1776, with guns and oil lamps and no internet and no cellular phones and none of that shit. It was better the way it used to be, which is always bullshit. Always bullshit. And, the future is bright. The future is to be looked to, and, with delight and not with, dread. And I feel like Republicans do that a lot. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that, though. I don't want to talk about that. I want to introduce you first to Murphy. You've seen him before if you're a regular viewer. There's Murphy. Hi, Murph. What do you say, buddy? He's like, put me down. But he's sitting here on my lap the whole time I'm talking. Hi, buddy. Do you like me? Yeah? You have cat food breath. Do you know that? He actually grabs me with his paw. Like, watch. Let me see. She's like, what the hell? What the hell, man? Put me down. Okay, you can go up here. Okay. Let me actually scooch my chair a little closer. I feel like it will be easier for me to address you. Let me pick my nose on camera while I'm at it. All right, it's 8:05 on the West Coast. Super early for a Thursday, but hey, anything can happen Thursday. as we say in Big Bang Theory world. And what we're going to do first, I've been seeing some game shows that I think would be good. And I missed Game Show Tuesday, so maybe I should stick with mostly that. But those AT&T films on Monday night were just tremendous. Let's do it here. What was I going to do? Go to YouTube. I watched a great episode of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown today, but I know we can't do that on the show because it will get us shut down. So let's see. Direct distance dialing. Have we done this one before? I don't think so. Okay, we're so doing this then. We'll come back to game shows later, but direct distance dialing, Triple D.
Something's coming to this locality. Direct distance dialing. And what's direct distance dialing? Well, let's see. Here's a telephone call being dialed. A simple operation that occurs thousands of times a day. But this is no ordinary telephone call. For with each turn of the dial, electronic impulses speed along miles of wire or pass swiftly as light from relay tower to relay tower.
Okay, hold on. Because I actually, and I feel like it's not the past week, like it wasn't this past Monday when we watched the Microwave Relay Network films about, from the same source, but it is not that long ago that we did. It might be like last week's Nerd News Monday or the week before. So that is another one. If you did not catch that and you're watching this now, go back a couple of Nerd News Mondays, or maybe it was Anything Can Happen Thursday also. I think we talked about, though, the microwave relay towers and how they really actually do the work of a lot of the physical cables that we, I think, use a lot less these days. And of course, even this was an advanced, thing in the 1959, I want to say. Did that say 59?
To span half the nation. In a distant city, a few seconds after the dialing begins, a telephone rings.
Oh, sorry. The Google software has done it again to me. When I push full screen on YouTube, it brings it back to me watching the video. I swear one of these days you're going to catch me doing something untoward. But for the meantime, let's go back to my video and let Harry Truman here, or whoever it is, talk on the phone.
Have been joined by one of the most amazing communications advances of our time, direct distance dialing, or DDD.
DDD.
Ever since operators first began dialing long-distance calls back in 1943, engineers have worked toward the day when telephone users could dial directly to other cities as easily as dialing a local call. And they have succeeded. With DDD, thousands of cities throughout the United States can be dialed on station-to-station calls by one- and two-party telephone customers here. Here's how it works. Let's say you want to call someone in Chicago. BA1 0339. First, you find Chicago in a new area code handbook that you'll be given.
Area codes were new.
Here it is, with the number 312. 312 is called the area code. We'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, now you dial 1 to get the long-distance equipment. Then you dial the area code number 312. Then BA1 0339, just as you would on a local call. And that's all. You've reached the Chicago number easily and without delay, simply by dialing 1 and an area code, in this case 312, before you dial the regular telephone number. Now about those area codes. They work like the many central offices in a city. With all the telephones in a big city, the telephone company couldn't have just one central office and give each telephone a different number. Instead, the city is divided into sections, each with a central office like Main 1. This gives us enough numbers for the whole city. With the millions of telephones in the United States, the country has to be...
For instance, this map indicates that there's only one area code for Arizona. I can't read the number. And in fact, most of those western states have only one area code. as far as I can see here. Washington may have 2. California obviously has a few, but like Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, all those have only 1. Because I guess the populations in 1959, the density and of the phone equipment was much different back then. I remember when Arizona got its 2nd area code. That was in my lifetime, 520.
Divided too. So the United States and Canada are divided into areas. Each area has its own code number. The new Area Code Handbook will list the area codes for the country's larger cities and for many smaller ones.
I want an area code handbook.
Lists of area codes are also being included in all new telephone directories as these are issued. If you can't find the area code for a city you want, you can get it easily. Just dial operator.
Oh.
When the operator answers, say, "I'd like the area code for, well, whatever city it is." In the same way, if you don't know the out-of-town telephone number, you can get that easily too, and without any cost.
Without any cost.
Just dial the operator.
Better not cost.
When the operator answers, say, "Give me information in whatever city you want." There's no charge for calling information in another city.
I remember when they changed that, too.
That's the story. Now, how about following a DDD call from beginning to end? Let's say you want to call George Olson in San Francisco.
The George Olson?
Let's see if you have his number in your blue book. Nope, not there. So you dial 0. When the operator answers, say, "Give me information in San Francisco." "I'd like the number of George Olson, 1214 Gary Boulevard."
God, that guy
415
sounds like the announcer.
Klondike 2, 5998. So you write it down. And of course, hang up. Then for the call itself, after listening for the dial tone, dial 1, then 415, then KL2, 5998.
Oh, back to me again. Sorry. I will continue in just a moment here. Back to the video.
"Hello, George. I'd like to have..." And you made a direct connection to San Francisco in a few seconds. It's better service with greater savings in time at no more cost. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, for you, it is. But it takes some mighty complicated equipment, millions of dollars worth, put at your service as soon as you turn the dial, and it can do some amazing things. On the call to San Francisco, for instance, this automatic equipment instantly handles the call. There are direct circuits to San Francisco, so it tries those first. If these happen to be busy, the equipment can find an alternate route in less time than it takes you to dial the next digit. But the equipment does more than route calls. This special tape, automatic accounting machines keep detailed, accurate information on each call for billing purposes. Other machines translate the information on the tape into printed form. It's fast, it's accurate, it's reliable. And it will give you a new type, easier to read statement with your bill showing the long-distance calls you've made. Some long-distance calls will still be placed through operators. They will handle all calls placed from payphones. Operators will also handle person-to-person, credit card, collect calls, and calls from four-party and rural lines. Well, sometimes things go wrong. So suppose you happen to dial a wrong number.
That happens sometimes. Not anymore, though,
Hello.
really.
As soon as you find out that this happened, ask the person who answers for the name of the city you reached and his telephone number. That's important. Write down both the city and the telephone number. Then hang up and dial the operator. Tell her you reached the wrong city, what city it was, and the wrong number you reached. She'll see that you are not charged for the call. Okay, how about a quick summary? With DDD, if you have one-party or two-party service, you can dial telephones in thousands of distant cities, just like you dial a local call. The only difference is that you dial 1 and an area code first. You will still place certain calls with an operator.
Oh dear.
From payphones, person to person, collect, credit card calls, and calls from four-party and rural telephones. But with most calls, you can take advantage of this new, fast service to reach distant cities almost as easily as you call a local number. It's easy, it's fast, it's the latest improvement in helping you make calls to friends, loved ones, and business associates in other cities. We're sure you'll like it.
And again, I always look at, okay, who's the audience for that? And I think it's probably like, regular customers. On the other hand, now you can dial the town and the telephone. Oh, I so have to see that. I'm sorry. This is what we're doing for the next half hour.
Look at us back in
We're
school.
not going to listen to the commercial, though. This is an employee orientation film, so we actually know who the audience is here. The film explains the structure and corporate values of the Bell system, along with details of the services offered.
From the early call of the milkman through a day of normal activities, one gets the feeling that this is a community of good neighbors. The kind of a place you'd like to live in, perhaps grow old in. The kind of a place you take pride in, that a great many people take pride in. That's my town.
That's my town.
What's making it all tick? What's welding it into a going community? Many things, of course. But one of the most essential factors in its growth is communications. Communications provided by the telephone company, and designed, among other things, to give my town the means for transacting business, the means for communicating information, for seeking help, for keeping old friends in touch. Yes, communications and the telephone company that provides them are part of every commute in America. The welding force that joins them into a nation of neighborhoods, communicating with each other and with every country of the world. And like my town itself, the telephone company is more than buildings and vehicles, poles and switchboards. It's people. Many people in many places, doing many different jobs. Like the operators who handle telephone calls in my town. Here in the central office, you can feel the pulse of the community. The flashing lights on the switchboard reflect the activity of the town.
Thank you.
It begins to stir in the early hours of the morning.
Your name and number?
It reaches its peak in the rush hours of daytime.
Thank you.
And then settles back for the night. It's the job of the traffic department to handle this changing volume of calls. It has to be ready with enough equipment and enough operators, 24 hours a day, to meet the customer's demands for service. From the earliest days of her training, every operator learns to think of her job in terms of service to the community.
This is information. May I help you?
Yes, I'd like the new number of Wilson's Meat Market, 1191 Sycamore Street, please.
One moment, please. The number is right 56240.
Right 56240. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Operator.
In addition to supplying information, operators put through all kinds of calls, many of them to out-of-town points near and far. And for each call they handle, they record the facts needed to accurately bill the customer. The calling number, the place called, and length of the conversation are all noted for use by the accounting department. Sometimes an operator handles calls that are more urgent than others.
Operator?
Operator, there's been a bad accident. 2 cars head on. Please get a doctor and an ambulance.
Can you give me the address, please?
It's right outside my house. Old Woods Road near Van Dyke. Hurry, please.
Thank you. We'll get help to you as fast as possible.
Thanks.
Meanwhile, the car's in flames.
The telephone operator's tradition of staying on the job in times of disaster is well known. It's a responsibility they willingly accept and take pride in. Whether the call be emergency or routine, the operator performs a service that is vital to the business and social life of every thriving community in the nation. And that certainly fits my town. It's a community on the go. New shopping areas to keep pace with demand. New construction of all kinds. New factories are going up, creating greater job opportunities with all that they hold for my town and its people. Homes are being built to house the increasing population of workers and their families. They all need communications, and the telephone company has to be ready to supply them. Connecting these new telephones is the job of telephone installers. Each morning they gather at the plant work center to get the day's assignments from their installation supervisor.
Hi, Ted.
Hi.
Your first day, huh?
That's right.
Well, I guess these will keep you busy. Better start with this new installation for John Gardner, 406 Melrose. Say, how did things go down at plant school?
Well, I think I learned a lot, but I'll feel better when this first day is over.
Okay, Ted. I'll stop in later and see how you're getting along.
Right. See you.
Hi.
Hi. It's your house?
Yep. Could you tell me something?
Sure, if I can.
Where does this wire go?
Where does this
Well,
wire
you see,
go?
this is a telephone wire. And it's going to run from your house to the big cable on top of that pole.
How come it's so big on the pole and so little down here?
That cable's got about 100 wires inside of it, and each one of them connects to a phone in somebody's home or office.
The cable then travels from pole to pole until it reaches our central office, where all the little wires are connected to switching equipment. The switching equipment completes the phone calls automatically, or sends them to the operator.
Then your phones will be ready for service. That is, they will be as soon as I hook them up.
Well, I'm on my way to the store. So long.
Call me if you need anything. Oh, you
I'll
can't.
hook up by the time you get back.
My, it looks just fine.
Your phones are ready, Mrs. Gardner. Right now, you can call anywhere in the world if you want to.
Good.
And here's your new directory. Your name will appear in the next issue. Meantime, people can find you through information.
Well, thank you. It's so nice.
Your
to
name
have
will
a
appear in the
telephone.
next phone book next year.
Hi, Ted.
Hi.
How's it going, boy?
Just fine.
Don't call me boy, sir.
Have any trouble on the job?
Nothing special. But I did have a youngster asking me some questions. And they got me thinking. I install phones and I know all the steps. Well, it's part of my plant training. But where do the other departments come in? I mean, how do they fit in the act?
Well, I guess that's a natural question for a newcomer, Ted. You're curious, and you should be, about how your job fits in with others in the company. Well, it's kind of a big order, Ted. But I can tell you this. All of us in the telephone company are organized to do just one thing. To give people good telephone service. Now, to do that, and do it right, takes a lot of people with a lot of different skills.
Boring.
Now, I know you've been through this at the plant school, but let's just review it. Say there's a new family, like the Gardners here. move to my town and want telephone service. Chances are someone in the family goes to the telephone office and puts in an order. Or the order could be telephoned in. Either way, it's handled by one of our service representatives in the commercial department. The service rep makes the customer feel at home, gets the name and address, and how the name is to be listed in the directory. You see, she wants to be sure the customer gets complete telephone service. These days, homes have telephones wherever it's convenient, and that's as it should be. They want their extensions where they'll be of most value.
Yeah, one right by the bed.
It could be indoors, say the bedroom, or outdoors on a terrace. And we installers can be of help. For instance, you'll find that you have lots of chances to suggest locations for telephones while you're working. It's all part of doing a good job. But let's get back to Mrs. Gardner's request for service, right? Now, once the order is placed, commercial goes right to work on it. First off, a copy of the order with all the details is sent to the plant department. There, a clerk assigns the necessary facilities to do the job, including central office lines and outside equipment. Simultaneously, directory, traffic, and accounting people receive identical copies of the order, so they can prepare their records for the new customer. The plant installation copy of that order comes to me, and I assign the work to you fellows each morning. Now, while you were hooking up the line for Mrs. Gardner's phone, the frame man in the central office was connecting it to the switching equipment. That gives us the circuit that makes it possible for Mrs. Gardner to pick up her phone and call to a friend across town, or across the nation. Well, that's part of the story, Ted. Lots more, of course. But maybe it's given you some little background on how a few of the departments work together.
It sure helps, Jack. But boy, I've got a lot to learn, haven't I?
We've all got a lot to learn, Ted.
You never stop learning in this business. And you understand your own job better when you know how other departments operate. For instance, the commercial department, in addition to servicing new customers such as Mrs. Gardner, also handles the payments of the customer's bills. It has the further responsibility of forwarding the names of new subscribers to the printer for the telephone directory. Every name, address, and number is carefully checked and rechecked for absolute accuracy. It is an exacting task every step of the way. As they say, it's something for the book. The book, in this case, being the most widely used volume of the year. Commercial also collects the money from public telephones that serve my town in stores, factories, transportation centers, and even along the highways. Then there are the telephone salesmen. They have the job of calling on business customers and suggesting the type of telephone system that will best serve the customer's business needs. Directory advertising salesmen also call on business customers and show how Yellow Pages advertising can help them. They plan the kind of layouts that attract buyers and boost sales for the advertiser. The service that telephone people give can be as immediate as right now. It can seek and answer the needs of today. It can plan the needs of tomorrow. And the needs of tomorrow are a service responsibility of the engineers. They have the job of looking ahead, of anticipating how and where my town is going to grow, so the telephone plant can be installed efficiently and economically, and be ready when the customer needs it. They decide where telephone cable will be installed, how it will be installed, underground or overhead, and how much of it will be needed. Should it be a 200-pair cable or a 400-pair cable? They have to make sure there's enough equipment in the central office to handle the switching of the calls and plan cables for routing long-distance calls. The engineers also work directly with builders in my town to be sure that telephone service will be ready for customers when they move into their new homes.
Houses run $20,000 to $25,000, and I've got the men out working.
and figure to have them finished by spring.
In other words, you want to be ready for immediate telephone installation when the houses are completed.
Definitely.
Well, here's the situation, Mr. Palmer. We've got enough feeder cable coming up to this area, but we've still got to get our poles and distribution cables in place for wiring to the houses.
I had no idea there was so much involved.
Well, that's why we appreciate this advance notice. You know, some builders don't include us in their plans, and then the new homeowners have to wait for their telephones.
We don't want that to happen here. We want phones available when our houses go up.
You can count on us. We'll be ready.
In just such fashion, telephone planning and construction work go hand in hand as my town grows and expands. Poles are set. Cables strung. Terminals go in. A communication pattern develops that serves the growing needs of my town. And to give my town the top telephone service it needs and expects takes a lot of money. And that's where accounting comes in. It has to keep track of all the money spent and received, so that the company may know where it stands financially. All bills and invoices come to accounting for checking, and they keep all the cost records necessary to prepare the company's financial reports. They have charge of the records that document the location, the type, and the size of telephone plans. And here, too, are prepared the paychecks, an event of never-failing interest to every employee of the company. Accounting also prepares and mails the customer's bills. And there's more to that than the mere say-so. An array of data processing equipment handles the customer's bill, from the first step of listing the customer's name and address, through the successive stages of computing the bill and preparing it for mailing.
Phone company paychecks, and you.
All over town, telephones are bringing people together.
Bradford, may I speak to Mr. Bradford, please?
There's still 10 minutes left of this.
I'll have the order over in about an hour.
Hi. Going to the dance? My town gym. Sure.
Arnold speaking. Why, hello, Pete. How's things in my town?
Things are pretty good in my town. There's a sense of growing prosperity, growing pride, growing happiness. And the telephone company is a grateful participant. Now, we've seen the parts played by the various operating departments, such as traffic, whose operators handle many of the calls. Plant, which installs and maintains the equipment. Engineering, where all the planning and designing are done. Commercial, which is responsible for many customer services. And finally, accounting, where all the financial records are prepared. Working in support of these operating units are the company's staff departments, such as personnel. Personnel helps to develop and train people in all levels of employment. They handle benefit and pension plans, pleasant reminders of earlier days. They also watch over the health of the employees and arrange for medical attention whenever they need it. An equally important staff section is the legal department, which checks all company contracts and represents the company in court actions. Public relations is also one of the company staff departments. It is largely responsible for keeping the public informed about the company. Its members write news releases for the community newspapers. They also prepare newspaper advertisements that promote various telephone services. And they coordinate activities that deal with radio or television shows. They prepare films and other programs for employee and public groups. And they take part in arranging telephone open houses to which the people of the community are invited. The preparation of the company magazine is also the responsibility of public relations.
Well, Mike, we've had our problems in putting this together, but there have been many excellent comments.
That's the reassuring part of it, Mr. Bolton. Now I think we've reached the point where we need a good story to wrap the whole thing up. Now, I have some ideas I'd like to talk over with you.
Good. Let's see now. The previous articles have covered all phases of our company's operations.
That's correct. And now that we've explained what we do, I think we should show a big picture. How we're backed up by AT&T, Western Electric, and the Bell Labs.
AT&T, Western Electric, Bell Telephone Laboratories. Magic names in communications the world over. Let's start with AT&T, the parent company which coordinates the activities and policies of all the companies in the system. Each of the operating companies serves a specific area of the United States and Canada. Each has its own duties and responsibilities, but all work closely with AT&T, which provides advice and assistance whenever needed. Within its own territory, each operating company supplies local and long-distance service. And AT&T, through its Long Lines department, connects each company with the other, uniting them into an integrated system. Long Lines also connects the Bell system with the thousands of independent telephone companies. In effect, it furnishes the links that make nationwide telephone service possible. It builds and operates the radio relay calls across the continent. It supervises the laying of underwater cables that enable people to call across the seas. And although many people aren't aware of it, Long Lines also provides the channels that radio and television broadcasters use for their nationwide networks. Western Electric is an equally important partner of the Bell system. It serves as the system's manufacturing arm. And from its plants throughout the country come the millions and millions of telephones that the Bell companies require to serve a growing nation. Western also produces the vast amounts of cable that are needed to interconnect all these telephones. And it builds and installs the dial switching equipment and switchboards used in most central offices. In addition to manufacturing cable and communication equipment, Western also serves as the supplier for the entire Bell system. This means that the companies not only depend on it for their telephone apparatus, but also their other everyday supplies, such as paper clips, typewriter ribbon, and anything else they need. Naturally, Western Electric doesn't make all these things itself. As a matter of fact, most of the items are purchased from more than 33,000 industrial firms across the country. From its warehouses strategically located over the nation, Western Electric is able to rush communications equipment to any stricken area in times of emergency. This equipment is so standardized that crewmen brought from any operating company of the Bell system can use it without further instruction.
That's
this
cool.
assures efficient and rapid restoration of service.
Yeah.
Then there is the extremely important part that both Western Electric and the Bell Telephone Laboratories are playing in building the nation's military defense system. Both have had much to do in the design and construction of such projects as the DO Line and SAGE, and in the development and
I don't know if
manufacture of
those are.
guided missiles.
Why do I keep coughing?
Bell Telephone Laboratories is the research and development partner in the Bell system. It is one of the largest and most experienced industrial laboratories in the world. And it is uniquely qualified to do the design work for both military and civilian communications equipment. Its job is to provide America with the communications of the future, as it has already designed the communications of the present. The laboratory's modern research centers are staffed by scientists and engineers planning years ahead, searching, designing, seeking new knowledge and new understanding. Their aim is to continually develop better tools and equipment to improve telephone service, and to do it in such a way as to assure efficient and economic operation. The achievements of Bell Laboratories researchers are many, ranging through all branches of the communications field. One of their latest advances in telephone progress is leading to new systems of automatically switching telephone calls. These systems are so radical in design that they promise to bring tomorrow's customers a multitude of almost undreamed of services. The tiny device which will make these electronic switching systems possible is the revolutionary transistor. Invented at the laboratories, the transistor brought Bell scientists one of the 2 Nobel Prizes they have won for discoveries in physics. Though it was primarily developed for the betterment of telephone communications, the versatile transistor now appears in a staggering variety of devices and equipment. It has become an important factor in the growth of many new industries.
Even glasses?
A development that is welcomed by the telephone company.
Transistor radio.
Welcome because it is in the pattern of service that is traditional with every phase of telephone. From its very beginning, service has been an inseparable part of the telephone story. As inseparable as the telephone company's long and continuing association with the communities of America. The My Towns everywhere who gave it the opportunity to be of service. They have grown together, these cities and villages of America and their telephone companies. Good friends and good neighbors. They share the responsibilities of good citizenship. Telephone people are proud of those responsibilities, both on the job and as individual citizens, helping their communities in their own ways. They are proud of being part of their town's hopes and joys. Proud of being able to further its communications, whatever the hour. Proud and happy to be of service.
An Owen Murphy production. Wow. Oh, that was tremendous. I enjoyed the hell out of watching that. I really did. And I mean, the funny thing is I didn't really stop and talk about much like during the movie like I usually do, but that was actually like really cool. I liked watching them, you know. One of the things I was going to stop and talk about and I didn't was the 2 letters and then the 5 numbers for a phone number. Like that continued on into like the 90s in some forms. Like I remember thinking of Seinfeld. Elaine is asking for a phone number, or I asked for her phone number. And she says, oh, my number is KL53456 or something like that. KL5? Yeah, that's like the code version of 555 for the phone company. So that was pretty funny. I have to end the show a little early than usual just because I need to be ready for a class in 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes or so from now. But 45 minutes is a good, you know, showing that given that I didn't do any for the past 2 nights. Didn't do any game shows this week, but there's some I have already actually saved on the tablet that I will be bringing to you next time. As for this evening, I'm going to call it a week. The other really exciting news is the discussed previously trip to Portland is on. Not taking the train up, taking the airplane, just because it's the same price and a whole lot more efficient. Not because the length of the trip was a problem, but because of the frequency of the trains. not frequent enough trains for me to be able to go and like not stay 6 nights at somebody's house before and after this wedding I'm going to. But it'll be very good, and maybe you'll come along with me. For now, I'm cBas. Have a good weekend, and then join us Saturday for maybe a fast food rerun show, and then on Monday for another Nerd News Monday, maybe more of these films on cBas After Dark.